One of the biggest mods out there is Ice and Fire, with astounding 13 million downloads. And because nobody did a complete showcase on this mod, I thought maybe I should do it. Yeah, this time it's freaking 9 pages of script, so maybe subscribe please. I hope my accent isn't that distracting, and enjoy the video. You can read everything by making a bestiary like this and place it on a lectern. By adding new manuscripts, which you can find throughout the world as loot, you can unlock new chapters. The first category, friendly. Pixie. Pixies spawn very rarely in pixie villages near dark forests. These tiny female fairies won't attack the player, but are still annoying as they can steal anything that's in your offhand, if you don't have your crosshair on them. You can get it back by dealing damage to the pixie. Keep in mind they can steal even stacks. This can be disabled. If you have enough resources to make a jar, you can capture pixies and place it down, which when the pixie relaxes, you can collect pixie dust from it. Break the jar and it will be set free. Tame pixies by feeding it cake. They will follow you if you don't tell them to sit down. Heal it with sugar. Tame pixies will give you certain effects: pink strength, purple jump boost, blue speed, green luck, and yellow haste. Upon death, they will drop pixie dust or, very rarely, a pixie wing. This can be used to make a legendary weapon called Pixie Staff. It uses pixie dust as ammo. You can as well make a new banner pattern out of it. Lastly, you can eat pixie dust, which inflicts glowing 3 and levitation. Hippocampus. These friendly creatures, half horse, half fish, can be found swimming through oceans or deep ocean biomes. They come in different colors and will drop shiny scale, which can be used to make potion of water breathing. But as well they drop rarely their fin, which can be used to make this legendary weapon, the Slapper. It slows down enemies as well confuses them, cause it's kinda weird to be slapped with a fin. I love the sound effect it does when you use it. They can be tamed with kelp, thus also following you if you hold it. You can sneak to access its inventory. It can be equipped with horse armor to make it more protected against attacks, a chest to gain inventory space, and a saddle to make it rideable. If you are riding it underwater, you are granted with water breathing. It can as well ride on land, even though it's really slow there. Keep in mind, hippocampi will still roam around wherever they want, so lure them in a closure or lead them somewhere else. You can breed them with prismarine crystals. Neutral. Hippogryph. These majestic bird horse mobs can be found flying through savannas, deserts, mountains, dark forest hills, or snowy biomes. Depending on the biome, they will have unique color patterns. Not only neutral if they aren't hungry, these birds will rather prefer smaller animals, such as rabbits. A reason why it can be tamed with rabbit feet. Once it's tamed, it will sit down. It can be equipped with a chest, saddle, and even armor, which has to be a special hippogryph kind of armor, crafted with 2 feathers and a normal horse armor. While riding it, you can press G to use its strike attack. Interact with the stick to tell it to sit or to wander. In case it starts flying away, use the dragon flute to command it to land. In addition, it will try to defend you from all hostile enemies. Sneak with a stick or a dragon command staff to set its home. Breed them with the rabbit stew, which will produce an egg. Throw the egg to hatch it, but it won't be tamed, so watch out. Here you can see all available colors in their baby state. My favorite one is the snowy variant. Lastly, if you feed your hippogriff a glistering melon, it will be transformed into a dodo, which I can't explain how. He can fly with those little wings. Hippogriffs have 2 special drops. The talon can be used for a legendary weapon which always slashes the enemy, dealing more damage. The skull can be placed in your base if you want to show off your power that you've slain a hippogriff, crafted into bone meal, or made into a new banner pattern. Dude, he looks annoyed. Amphithere. These speedy snake with wings creatures spawn in jungles. Again, you can encounter them in different colors. They are neutral and won't attack you if you don't provoke them. But that's exactly what you want to tame them, as normally they would just fly away when seeing players. If they are flying, try to shoot them with arrows or snowballs if you don't want to hurt them. So they fall from the sky. The moment you are close enough, you are able to ride the Amphithere. They don't like this, so prepare some golden apples. After 1 minute or so, it will be tamed, allowing you to fly with it. It doesn't need a cell. When tamed, they will always try to defend you, but what's really wholesome is they will kill any hostiles that will try to eat villagers, even dragons, which is kinda hopeless. And while flying, these creatures cannot stop midair and will always continue to glide. Make it sit or wander or follow by sneak clicking on it. Breed them with cookies. Amphithere have 2 drops, their feathers and their skull. With the feather you can make a new banner pattern. Then new powerful arrows that knock enemies back with the force of Amphithere wings. And lastly, you can as well make a legendary weapon with some other resources that will again knock enemies into the air, but can also disable shields. The skull can be again converted into bone meal or placed as a trophy. Hostile mobs. Sirens. Sirens are dangerous seductresses that sit on seaside rocky islands near beaches. Firstly, they will lure players with their seducing singing and their mermaid looks to them, just to transform into hideous nagas that want to devour them. Wearing earplugs near them makes their singing completely useless to you. Sirens have 2 rare drops next to prismarine crystals and shards. They drop shiny scales like Hippocampus and very rarely siren tears. Shiny scales can be used to make a potion of water breathing, but in combination with the siren tear you can as well make the legendary weapon Siren Flute, which makes certain enemies fall in love with you for 10 seconds, preventing them from attacking you. In this state, you can even repel arrows, dude. Death Worm. Death Worm are deadly, giant, but also sometimes really tiny creatures living in deserts. These mobs will attack anything that comes too near them, including players and dragons. Their attacks are lunging out of sand and extending their tongue, dealing enormous damage. Even though they occur in rather smaller versions, it's possible to come across a giant death worm. An easy way to kill them is to lure them into water, then drop TNT near them and go away, so they won't focus on you anymore. After some time they will eat it and then die. A wild worm cannot be tamed, but one of the drops can be a death worm or a giant death worm egg. Upon hatching, the death worm will be tiny and will start growing as time goes by. It will patrol the area it spawned in within a 50-block radius. You cannot tell it to sit or follow. It won't defend you, but also not attack you or animals, just hostile mobs. Death worms can be ridden even if they aren't tamed. Just hold 2 fishing rods in your hands. It's not recommended though, as it can end up being lethal or even corrupt your world. Lemao. Rare drops are their tongue and their skin. Firstly, you can get 3 variants of their skin, white, tan and red. Out of these you can make armor. Secondly, you can combine their tongue and their skin with chains to be granted with another legendary weapon, called the Death Worm Gauntlet. Depending on the chitin you use, it will have a different color. The weapon lashes the target with its tongue, dealing 3 damage, but also pulls it to the player with the tongue. You are literally a death worm with this. Cockatrice. These nightmare creatures will sap the light of anything with their intense stare, roaming around in savannas. These chicken-like creatures come in 4 different colors. How their attacks work is when you are directly looking at it, it will shoot out a beam, dealing nausea with a 3 and slowness. As soon as you look away, it will run towards you, trying to scratch you to death. This can be prevented by wearing a blindfold, but that means it will start attacking you right away. As they are part chicken, they will try to save chickens from hostile predators, such as dragons. Taming a wild cockatrice is very hard if you don't have region 900,000. You have to survive its stare for long enough so its willpower is broken, and it will start to serve you. A good strategy is to look at it, then try to eat a gapple, and then continue the staring contest. If you don't have nerves for this, then there's an easier way. There's a rare chance that chicken will lay rotten eggs. Just make a chicken farm by placing some chickens on hoppers, and after a few hours you will be granted with a rotten egg. Throwing this will result in hatching a tamed cockatrice. Congrats, you took the easy way out. You can make it sit, wander, follow or patrol. Heal it with seeds or by dropping rotten flesh. They cannot be bred, but upon death they can drop wither bones, feathers and 2 rare drops, their skull as well as their eye. The skull can again be used as a trophy or for bone meal. The eye can be combined with wither bone shards and 1 wither bone to get a legendary weapon, Cockatrice Scepter. It can wither multiple targets, so you are basically a cockatrice. Stymphalian Bird. These new birds are bloodthirsty swarm creatures and will fire metallic feathers at their prey. Beware, as they can spawn in groups of 3 to 20. They hate everything, including players, animals and villagers, and can spot you from 64 blocks away. If a player manages to kill one of the group, the whole group will try to fly away. A good strategy would be to get armor enchanted with projectile protection. The Wiki suggests troll leather armor, we will talk about it later. And as well as a bow, as they tend to fly up to start attacking. The drops are iron, iron nuggets, copper, copper nuggets and 2 rare drops. Copper is a new ore found throughout the world or obtained as loot. You can make a whole tool and armor set out of it. In comparison, it's worse than iron but better than leather. The 2 rare drops are their feathers and their skull. The skull can again be used as a trophy or to gain bone meal. The feathers are used to make bundles which shoot 8 feathers at once around you. Or to make powerful arrows that will even soar like birds due to their metallic shape. Or lastly, a dagger. This one is really speedy, allowing you nearly to spam the attack. Trolls. Not even in caves you are safe. These nasty creatures are lurking around every corner in caves, desperately trying to spot a lost miner to devour him. Firstly, there are different textures. This time they are even equipped with different weapons. So firstly, the forest troll, the mountain troll, and lastly, the snow troll. Which model you like the most? Tell me in the comments. So these creatures spawn in snowy tundras, forests, and as well mountains. But sometimes you can even encounter them in dragon caves. A really cool feature is also if they see the daylight, they will turn to stone. Just saying. You can break this with a pickaxe. Their attacks are striking down with their club, swiping with it, and even smashing obstacles when they are rushing to you. Also, they repel any sort of arrow, meaning the only way to defeat them is to melee. Now to the loot. This one is a bit more difficult as each troll has different drops. Firstly, all 3 will grant you with their leather, with which you can make now 3 new armor sets. But for the add you also need 2 tusks, which is dropped by all of them. The reason why you should use this armor against Stymphalian birds is that you can repel any sort of arrows, so you basically only have to deal with their melee attacks, which makes these battles way easier. Tusks can also be used to create bone meal or to make a new banner pattern, which looks like this. As well, you can again get rarely their head, which can be converted into bone meal or placed as a trophy. And now we get to the last drops, which are unique for every class. The troll axe you can get with any troll. This applies as well for the troll hammer. The tree trunk can only be dropped by frost trolls, the stone column by forest and mountain trolls. The mossy column only by the forest troll, and the last 2, frosted tree trunk and frosted column, are dropped by the frost troll. Lastly, they can also drop different, more common items, which are forest will drop mushroom and oak wood, mountain emeralds, and frost snowball, spruce wood and sapphires. Another new ore. can be found throughout the world and can be made into blocks. There's also another use for ice dragons, but more about that later when we talk about ice dragons. Myrmex. These ant-like creatures can generate with their nests in jungles or deserts. These families, resembling ant colonies, have different appearances with 5 different castes. Firstly, we got the worker. They are the smallest ones. The task is to go out of the hive to find resources and kill prey. These items will be then stored in cocoons and in food rooms. If broken by hand, they will drop what's inside of them. Sometimes they can carry eggs into the nursery room. The soldiers look like the workers but are much bigger. The task is to protect workers and kill prey. That's why they will accompany them everywhere they go. Sentinels look like scorpions. These ones look like they are ready to box you. They are the most deadliest and will stay near the entrance to even camouflage themselves, waiting for an intruder or prey which will then be devoured. Royals are like workers but massive and have wings so they can fly. The purpose is to fly out of the hive to find a mating partner. As soon as they find each other, the mating begins, and one of them dies and another colony is born. The queen larges out of the castes. It will lay eggs as it's their only source of reproduction. If you kill the queen, the whole colony is dead. Before Myrmex grow up, they will go through 3 stages: egg, larva, and pupae. So now to the interesting part, trading. If you firstly give workers their specific resin chunks, by either killing a different colony or by obtaining it somehow differently, your reputation will increase by 5. If you get a reputation of 25, all Myrmex of that colony will be neutral. When you get a rep of 50, you will unlock the trading perks, which allows you to trade with every part of the colony. Here you can see the trades. If you want to look into them further, visit the Wiki. The best part about this, you can trade with the queen, which gives you eggs in exchange of resin. Even queen eggs, which means you can get a colony of your own. After hatching the queen, you will be rewarded with a colony where you have a rep of 100. If a player achieves a reputation of 75, you are able to control the hive with a Myrmex staff. This allows you to delete rooms and also to control the reproduction of the queen, and as well adding new rooms. If you go under the rep of a specific unlocking ability, such as trading, these perms will be revoked. Right now, a few features of this won't work in the latest version, as the AI of Myrmex workers is broken. One can use the second latest one, but that has bugs for other mobs as the deathworm, so I rather recommend using the latest and waiting for the creator to fix the AI issue. Lastly, all Myrmex drop 3 different items: chitin, chunks, and stingers. The chitin can firstly be used to make 2 new armor sets. Secondly, there are 2 new tool sets made with this and wither bones. The whole tool set does 4 more damage against non-arthropods and deathworms. If you combine the chitin with the stinger, which only a few Myrmex drop, you firstly get the Myrmex staff, which is for every biome different, but also a new weapon which even inflicts poison on hit. And the last item is the resin chunk, which you can use as a trading item to get rep or as well to make these new blocks. These blocks can again be used to make cocoons. There's also these light emitting plants found in the hives, which can also be used as deco. To finish off this chapter, if you get 5 worker eggs by either picking up eggs or trading with the queen, you can make a legendary weapon, the Myrmex Swarm. These will defend you for 30 seconds and then die. Sea serpents. These marine creatures are quite similar to an underwater dragon and roam in deep ocean biomes. If they spot prey, they will even leap out of water just to get to it, so you aren't even safe on land. Legends say there are even ancient sea serpents which are so gigantic that they are even a rival to a dragon stage 5. They drop 3 things: their skull, their fang, and their scales, which are available in all colors they spawn in. The skull, again, either as a trophy or used to make bone meal. The fang can be used to make a banner pattern, new arrows, which don't mind water pressure, and a legendary weapon, the Tide Trident, a much more powerful weapon. Lastly, the scales can be used to make 6 new armor sets, but for every piece of them, you as well need shiny scales obtained by killing Sirens or Hippocampi. The armor gives you water breathing and as well strength when wet. The multiplier depends on how many parts of the armor you are currently wearing, which can be up to strength 4. This even applies when it's raining. Ghosts. Ghosts will haunt graveyards during the night, just to vanish when it's daytime again. A cursed chest can be found in the catacomb of graveyards. This one will spawn ghosts upon opening it and also contains loot. The ghosts spawned from the chest won't drop anything. There's as well this rare Easter egg where not a ghost will spawn but this floating paper with the ghost on it. A reference to SpongeBob. The only problem with these mobs is that you cannot kill them normally. You need to use silver weapons to deal damage. This is a good time to talk about the new resource, silver, found throughout the world as a new ore. You can make a new armor and tool set out of it. In comparison, the armor is a little bit weaker than iron, but the sword is better if you're fighting undead mobs, as it will deal +2 damage. If you want to farm ghosts, just place some graveyard soil found in graveyards. Actually, you can even craft it with ectoplasm, so let's talk about the drops. Ghosts spawning from graveyard soil can drop ectoplasm or rarely phantasmal ingots. Ectoplasm, which can also be found in the catacombs, can be used to make graveyard soil or cursed chests to scare your friends. The phantasmal ingot only has one use, to upgrade a dragonbone sword to get a phantasmal blade, which is probably one of my favorite weapons in the game. It fires spinning swords as an attack. These can even traverse through blocks, which is really dope. It can also hurt ghosts. When exposed to broad daylight, ghosts will enter a dormant state. Upon doing so, they will stop glowing and slowly fade into invisibility, becoming immune to all forms of damage. However, during the night, they will become active again. Minibosses! Gorgon. The Gorgon spawns in Gorgon temples near beaches. If you enter the temple, you will hear laughter and hissing, indicating the Gorgon spawned. To get to the bottom layer, either break the blocks or activate these 2 levers. Any mob spawning in the bottom layer will be turned to stone by the Gorgon. You cannot defeat her if you aren't equipped properly, so craft a blindfold and wear it. In this clip, I don't have night vision, so you can get the feeling how difficult it is to see, even if you have a torch. In this mode, she will try to kill you with the melee attacks, such as poison. But if you maintain distance, it's an easy win. Upon death, she drops her head. The main purpose of the head is that you can turn one mob of your choice into stone. There's no cure to transform mobs back, the only thing you can do is break it. This is a one-use item. Or use the head to make a new banner pattern, which looks like this. Cyclops. These giant monsters with one eye can either spawn in their caves near beaches that is covered with sheep and loot like gold, another chest filled with various valuables. They can also be found wandering through plains or savanna biomes with a few sheep. The tactic here is to just shoot with a bow, to be honest. Best arrows would be Amphithere arrows. There's also a sheep disguise that if you sneak and wear it, it should disguise you, which doesn't work for me right now. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. But you can also shoot in its eye, which will make him blind and doesn't allow him to detect you if you are more than 4 blocks away. The rare drops are his eye or his skull. The skull can be placed as a trophy or converted into bone meal. His eye can be used to make a banner pattern or as a legendary weapon, which deals an area of effect inflicting weakness, Hydra. This one is really tough. Spawning in swamp Hydra layers, you can find some chests filled with loot, but also the 3-headed Hydra. The attacks are spitting venom at you and finishing you off with melee attacks. The only way how to defeat it is to lit it on fire long enough that it loses all heads. Against the poison you can get regen potions, golden apples or buckets of milk. Its drops are its fangs, skull and the heart. The skull either a trophy or bone meal. The fang can be used to make arrows that leech life and also poison enemies. The heart is a legendary weapon, which when held in the hotbar, you will gain regeneration, depending on how much life you have left. Dragons. There are 3 types of dragons: fire, ice and lightning. Firstly, there are 2 categories. On the surface, only stage 1 to 3 dragons will spawn, but the bigger ones will spawn underground in caverns, stage 4 to 5. Fire will spawn in plains, forests and other warm biomes. Icy in any icy biomes. Lightning only in jungle, savanna and badland biomes. Sometimes you can find throughout the world in cold biomes and savannas dragon remains, which can be looted for bones and a skull. Each type in dragon has different loot, different ores in its cave. The only note I have is that you can find here manuscripts and also a new item called chain. Chains are similar to leads, but you cannot break them, and you can leash them to walls. Sticky ones allow you to stick 2 mobs together, which is hilarious. Fire, gold and vanilla ores. Ice, silver and sapphires. Lightning has amethyst and copper. So firstly, the surface dragons will drop scales, heart, flesh, a skull and bones. To loot a dragon, right-click the torso to gain your drops. The last thing you can get is if you interact with glass bolts, dragon blood. This is crucial for a process we will talk about later. This prevents scales, flesh, a heart or even eggs to drop. The underground dragons can sometimes drop eggs. Female stage 4 can drop 4 to 5 eggs, male stage 5 3 to 4. As an advice, firstly equip yourself with good vanilla loot like diamond or netherite before trying to conquer a small dragon. Then go hunt them down until you get a full dragon armor set, as this is really powerful against the dragon breath attacks. Also equip yourself with the infinity bow and some either golden apples or regen potions. Good luck conquering then a stage 4 or 5 dragon. Firstly, the normal drops. Dragon bones are used to make blocks and walls as deco, as a new tool set and a sword plus bow and arrows. The sword is better than diamond. The bow and the arrow can one-shot most vanilla mobs. The tools are maybe even a bit faster than diamond, but you need wither bones for this set. Skulls you can turn into bone meal, keep as trophies. The size and the color depends on the type and the stage of the dead dragon. Convert it into bone meal or use it to make 3 new banner patterns. You can also use it to make a dragon staff, but more about that later. The heart can be used to make a banner pattern or to make the core of the dragon forge. More about that later when we discuss the dragon forge. Scales can be used to make armor sets. Here you can see all scales available and all armor sets. These are more immune to dragon breath attacks, so you should wear them when fighting one of the bigger ones. The flesh can only be used to eat it. Ice will give you slowness, lightning strikes lightning, fire sets you on fire. Even if it has debuffs, it's a really good food source. Hatching. Eggs need to be in a specific environment to hatch. Here you can see all of them. Fire needs to be in fire. Lightning, this is probably the hardest one. It can only hatch if it's raining or thundering. Ice surrounded with ice and place water in the middle. Wait until the ice spreads. Voila, it's hatching. After they hatch, they will grow very slowly. When they are still small, you can put them on your shoulder with a right click and shift to drop them. If you want to speed that up, you can always craft some dragon meals. There's also a sickly meal, which doesn't allow your dragon to grow in size anymore, if you don't want to end up with something like this. It takes 125 days for a dragon to grow up to stage 5. Each meal advances the growth by 1 day. Some nice features. You can use dragon horns to store dragons you tamed. The dragon bone flute is an item that, when played, will make a tamed dragon and hippogryph stop flying and fall down. With the dragon command staff, which you need a skull for, you can tell your dragon to sit, escort you, or wander. With a shift click, you can as well set its home position. Please keep in mind that if you set your dragons to wander, they could attack other dragons, which can end up being lethal. Also, rather don't keep them in your base. As soon as they are old enough, they will either spit out fire, ice, or electricity. Just an advice, I destroyed my base once with that. Next thing is, if you shift click your dragons, you can equip them with various items. The 4 slots are for dragon armor pieces. These are available in all vanilla ores, as well as in copper and silver. The last one is for a banner, if you want to have one. In the text menu you can see the stage, the hunger, if it's renamed, the gender, and the owner. If you have a dragon that's stage 3 or above, you can ride him. Press X to fly down, R to start the dragon breath attack, and G to strike attack. Dragon summoning items are a very neat thing to have, which is crafted with a few valuable items. You just need dragon blood from that specific dragon type, a diamond, an ender pearl, and one of the new valuable ores. For lightning, amethyst. These you can find in caves or as a new ore. For fire, the vanilla emerald. And for ice, sapphires. Again in the cavern or as a new ore. These new ores you can only craft into a block, but nothing else. What the summoning crystal does is when you use it on a dragon, you can teleport it to you when using it again, which is very OP. You have to reactivate it after every use. Breeding. To breed 2 dragons of the same type, you need a new breeding mixture. Firstly, check if your dragons are 1 female and 1 male with a shift click. Secondly, in specific biomes, you can now find lilies needed for the new breeding mixture. Each dragon type has its own lily. Fire can be found in deserts and nether, ice can be found in ice plains or glaciers, lightning in the savanna or in the mesa biome. Mix these with 1 specific resource in a bowl. For fire, blaze rod, for frost, prismarine crystal, and for lightning, chorus fruit. And give the mixture firstly to the male, then the female. Upon breeding, 1 dragon will generate a nest with an egg surrounded by dragon bone nest blocks. These blocks you can also craft. Dragon Forge. Now to the last and probably most epic chapter of dragons, the Dragon Forge. Those players who mastered dragon taming are granted with the ability to fuse dragon blood with resources. Firstly, how to build it though. The Dragon Forge is made out of 3 layers. For each dragon type you need a different forge, but the build is the same. For each forge you need 17 bricks, 1 aperture, 1 core, and 8 dragon bone blocks. The only difference is that you use for the bricks different scales and a different heart for the core. The first layer is built like the last layer. Make a cross out of the bricks, then add in the corners bone blocks, voila, done. The middle layer contains the core and the aperture. Firstly make a U-shaped form out of the bricks and then add the core in the middle and the last slot for the aperture. Last layer like the first. Cross out of bricks, fill it with bone blocks. If you build it correctly, it shows you the oven-like texture on the side. So now, just get your tamed dragon near the aperture and let it sit there. Fill the forge with iron and blood, and the dragon will start to breathe into the forge, making dragon steel. Also, I don't recommend placing it in your base. Of course, out of this, you can make equipment. The armor protects you even more against dragon breath attacks and has more durability. The toolset even has special effects. Fire will ignite enemies and knock them back. Ice will freeze them, and lightning strikes the lightning. Not even mentioning that they can break literally anything instantly. One can as well make dragon armor out of this, but you need blocks to do so a ton of dragon blood and iron. The boss. Dreadqueen. Spoiler, the boss itself still isn't added as I'm making this video, but you can at least loot the dungeon, which should be the gate to her dimension. Mausoleums are dark complexes made out of impenetrable dreadstone that can generate in cold biomes. Their dreadwood doors can only be unlocked with a Grave Master's key, which can be obtained by killing a Dread Lich. What you can now find in this dungeon-like grave are a ton of spawners with deadly mobs. Don't explore this unprepared. Filled with loot, one can even find an Ice Dragon Forge core and some bricks in there, so it's really worth it. The mobs that spawn there are firstly trolls, are skeletons with blue eyes. They wear clothes, but sometimes they prefer to be naked. They drop bones, chainmail, and dread shards, which can be used to make these blocks. If you are very lucky, they can drop their sword. Ghouls are zombies, but you can see their actual ribs. Sometimes, again naked, may have a bone equipped. If you see a horde of them, think smart, as these boys have a wide reach. Those hackers. Drops are rotten flesh, bones and dread shards. Beasts are enormous looking dogs which are very fast, so you can't even outrun them. Drop rotten flesh, dread shards. These are mainly in the last room. Scufflers are big spiders, so if you are scared of them, I don't know if you should go into that dungeon. They spawn in the entrance room. Again, shards and spider eyes. Dread Knights are probably the most dangerous one, as they deal out massive damage as well as have a ton of health. They mostly drop bones, iron and their sword. Sometimes when liches kill horses, a Dread Knight horse can spawn. If you manage to not kill it, you can keep it and even ride it, which is really dope. It's like a skeleton horse which had a makeover. Lastly, liches are the most powerful mobs from this dungeon. They can summon up to 5 minions which are randomly selected. They can either be trolls, ghouls, scufflers or beasts. They can drop its staff, which allows you to shoot out skulls that haunt anybody. This is also the mob that can drop the Grave Master's key, which you can unlock the gate with. Another fun effect is that dead servants see through blocks, meaning they will always target you. But for some reason they hate armor stands, which you can use as a distraction. Wow, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please leave a like and also subscribe for more long showcases. And check out my second channel. Yeah, thanks. Bye!